So Deepesh, welcome to Shop Talk Express.
Thank you.
So looking at the North American market, as far as electrification is concerned, what's the big news right now?
There's a lot going on in the market, but the biggest news right now is really about legislation and funding, with the Biden administration trying to put together the infrastructure plan and pass it legislatively. What comes out of that is potentially a big or small incentive for EV charging in general, electrification in general. And most of us in the space are really looking forward to what comes out of that. We've also seen a lot of our retailers being very excited about this incentive and making plans ahead of that to think about their electrification plans as well.
Okay, so retailers are starting to anticipate what's coming. And what are they actually, and in concrete terms, Deepesh, what are they actually doing?
Yeah, it's interesting. With the U.S. market, the market's been moved from the stage of not being convinced that electrification is going to happen to almost everyone now convinced that electrification is going to happen in a big way. The question more for our retailers is, when is that going to happen? What's the timing? And do I need to move now or should I wait? And what's interesting with the change in administration and the incentives that are potentially going to come out, we are seeing a lot of our retailers actually going ahead and making plans for their own deployment ahead of that. And we are seeing a bunch of RFP activity over the past 4 or 5 months. This summer, it's been a lot of our key customers who are reasonably large, kind of moving forward and putting out RFPs. So very interesting.
Well, absolutely. And how can Gilbarco help in that scenario?
Yeah, so we obviously, when as customers are moving forward, a predominance of the market today is still, I would say, funding dependent in the US, in North America as well. And the funding is generally from two sources. They're either utility-based funds, and there's thousands of utilities in the US across the different 50 states. And then you have the Volkswagen emission funds, which have been allocated to states based on the emission that was released by the vehicles. So, these funds are available. We have, we compile all that available funding and incentive data, and we host it on our website at gilbarco.com/eMobility in the US. And customers can go there, look at the map, and they'll look at the state they're in. Once they double click, they can see what funding is available, and then reach out to us to see if, what's the best way they can get after that funding. And that's where we step in and help them, not only identify the funding, but help them understand what it takes. So what's the timelines, what's the criteria, which sites are eligible, where do they need to locate the sites, what best positions them to win. And then we'll actually work with them to build out their grant application and make sure the information is right. In some cases, we collate and submit on behalf of multiple customers. And in some cases, we just help the customers self-submit, depending on what the funding requirement is there.
Well, I guess that must be highly useful for your customers. What does success look like? For when you get those applications right.
Mm-hmm. So first thing is, have we identified the right funds? As in, funding that's only 20% is probably not interesting enough to move the needle. So really identifying funding programs that are 50 to 80%. Coverage, as in it covers the cost, so install costs plus equipment cost, and that can be a pretty interesting sum. So if a customer has to invest $500,000, you can probably get a deployment on one site for maybe 100K. So that's a big saving for a customer, and helps them get started on this journey with electrification. So I would say success is getting a reasonably large amount of funding or a substantial portion, and second is getting awarded the maximum sites you can get. Not everybody's going to get sites, so ideally, yes, you get a lot of sites, but at a minimum, you're at least getting some sites awarded, because there's a lot of competition for this funding, because everyone wants to take the money that's available in the market to help them move forward.
Absolutely right. So let's put ourselves in the customer's shoes. They've got a good application in, and they're starting to be pretty proactive about this. what's the big question for them in terms of, getting the right technology for today, but also looking into the future for tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, great question. So, one of the first things after funding is really, along with identifying the right sites. So right sites is key. You've got to have the right location and the right infrastructure, right power level, and so on. But then the next question our customers ask is, what do I need from a technology perspective on my site that fits the funding criteria, but also, gives me the best bang for my buck, as in it just works today, but it also is going to be effective 5 years or 10 years from now. So it's really around, understanding that piece and also helping them understand pieces of the EV operation that they're not familiar with, right? This is a different ball of wax than selling fuel, traditional fuel. And, managing energy and the energy costs and so on is a little different. So really understanding what kind of hardware and software sets you need to be able to manage all of that.
And makes a lot of sense. Now, looking to the future, are you optimistic? Do you think as far as the North American market is concerned that things are moving quite well now?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. I think America is a very capitalist market, and the capital will be deployed when there is a market ready to move, right? And the proof in that is, till about 2 years ago, you had like 3 car choices in the US. You had, a Tesla, BMW, and a Nissan. And not all those choices were attractive. Tesla by far was the most attractive and, garners more than 50% of the market today. But if you look at the vehicles that are coming out in the market now, this year and next, it's extremely exciting with almost all the automakers coming in. It's across vehicle classes from, sedans to pickup trucks. And, we also have great partnerships with large truck OEMs, and the truck OEMs have deployed. Volvo just launched their truck late last year. So along with fleets and consumers, they have vehicle choices and vehicles are being made available. So I think that's going to change the fundamental of, are there vehicles available that are interesting, attractive at the right price point, give customers choice, and that's going to move the consumer side. For our customers who are retailers, the question is there enough of a market out there? So that's happening. But the question now is, can I really fund this? And that comes from their own capital or from the things we just talked about with the Biden administration or the existing utility and state funding that may be available. That'll give the kind of lift that it needs to start moving the market forward and break that initial inertia. So I think all that is coming together, and the US is a large, vast market. It's one of the biggest car markets, as you know. China, of course, moving forward, but a big car park of over 330 million vehicles, which is the equivalent of all of Europe. So I'm very excited about what's in the offing for the US.
Well, very, very interesting conversation, and watch this space for the North American market and the US Deepesh. And thanks very much for joining us on Shop Talk Express.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Enjoyed talking with you.
Talk again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.